Well, good morning, everyone. It is Sunday. Yep, it is Sunday. Tomorrow's a new week. We, here in my part of Florida, have been blessed with a wonderful cold front. So we're getting up in the mornings to it being in the 40s and then, high 60s maybe in the afternoon. It's been fabulous. I have been totally enjoying it 100%. But I would enjoy it even better if I had finished my little sweater, because it's sweater weather and we don't get many opportunities here for that. So since I have like a bazillion plushies, I think I am going to spend my week, this coming week, finishing my sweater. And hopefully we get another cold front and I'll be able to use my sweater. So just throwing that out there. I mean, I really do not need to make more plushies as much as I enjoy them, especially for market, because I have a lot. And the last two markets did not go as expected. I mean, they weren't horrible. Well, one was. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't as good as last year. And, I walked away a little bit disappointed from that. But those two hurricanes really put a hurting on this area. I mean, pretty much the whole West Coast. The Coffee Dungeon, they're closing. Between the two hurricanes and the little strip center they're in, the owner of that place let another coffee shop come in like 2 doors down from them. And because people just, with the hurricanes and all the flooding, they're just not spending money. So after 3 years of being in business, they are closing their doors. So Jenna picked up my plushies for me. And now she has to look for another part-time job. I mean, she has another one. She was doing 2 part-time jobs plus her classes. So I don't know if the job she still has will let her have more hours, or if she's going to have to find another part-time job. But it's discouraging, because even our Winn-Dixie, they're closing. So that's going to leave us with like Walmart to do grocery shopping at. And from the time that I've lived in this area, this particular part of Florida, we've been here 12 years, 11 years, 12 years, something like that. And when it's snowbird season, that Walmart cannot stay in stock. You go in there and try and get groceries, and now if they end up being the only grocery in the area, there'll never be anything in there. It'll always be empty. Now, rumor has it that Aldi's is going to go in where the Winn-Dixie was at. I've only been to a few Aldi's, but they're usually small. That would be like really big, I think, for an Aldi's. So I'm not sure if that rumor is true. Anyways, that was kind of discouraging. I mean, I know I had my issues with the Coffee Dungeon. Not really issues, but unsureness. Like being, why isn't she doing what she said she was going to do as far as paying? But it's done now. I've gotten my last payment, which was $69 to PayPal. And of course, PayPal took their fee, and Jenna picked up my items for me. So, which is a bummer, because I was doing what I thought was well for being in there, you know, for the type of thing it was. And yep. Anyhow, Toby is in here again with me. He's over there getting all snuggled in, ready to take a nap in the little corner. So he might come over and say hi. I don't know. Okay, so what did I make for this week? Really, not a whole heck of a lot. I started with a Charmander. Now, he's not completely finished yet because Sue is going to make the eyes for me because it requires felt eyes. And I think she has some already cut. I would just have to assemble them together because they might have to be trimmed a little. We actually made the same pattern. She got the pattern to do a custom order, I believe, for her sister. And I saw it, I'm like, where did you get it? So I had to get it just because. So it's not completely finished. I still need to finish the fire tail. I need to get a clean pet brush for that because my little eyebrow comb is not going to do that big of an area of yarn. And then his eyes need to go on. And I just kind of stitched, you can still see the strings stitched on a mouth and nose. I'll probably have to redo that once I get the eyes in place to make it look right. But I was just like, I want to see what it might look like. This needs, I think, to be more of a V shape instead of coming across, but I'll see once the eyes get there. So this was an interesting pattern. It is by Shay Crochet on Etsy, and it's one that was written for acrylic yarn, and I'm not afraid to use an acrylic pattern with the plush yarn. It may surprise me when it's done on how big it comes out, but I'm not scared to do it. Usually what I do, if I can get a good look, is try and count how many rounds might be in the belly or in the head, and then I can kind of get an idea of how big it might turn out. So mine sits, when it's sitting like this, just about 10 inches tall. Now what was interesting about this, the toenails and the toes and the fingers, they're not nails, they're toes and fingers, I could not do the way the pattern said to do. It is make a magic circle, put in 4 single crochets, and do 4 more single crochets, and then sew them all on. I can't turn them right side out when it's like that. There's just like, maybe if I left them inside out, nobody would notice but me. I don't know, but those were not fun. Either way, they were going to have to be sewn on. So what I ended up doing was little mini baubles. After the fact, I played guinea pig because Sue and I were working on these at the same time. Hers is finished. Hers has eyes and everything. Hers looks great. She's going to show you Wednesday. It looks really good. And it's bigger than mine because she used a bigger hook than me. And she does yarn over to my yarn under, which definitely makes a difference in size. So I played guinea pig and I did the little mini baubles, took a picture of one of the feet and showed her, and we both agreed that's the way we should do it. So I need to get myself down to Sue's so that I can get the eyes, and I'll probably take this guy with me. So since she's finished hers, she can help me like with eye placement and things like that. So Sue, if you're watching, expect some company sometime soon. And I know, I forgot fluff on me. And I know it's Thanksgiving week coming up, but I'm going to have to get down there. So just know that you have company coming. So Charmander is almost done. And I worked on this first knowing that I wasn't going to be able to complete it, but it was something different, and I wanted to do something different. So once I finished Charmander, I got into my pattern file, and I'm like, what do I want to make? I know there's things that I should be making, but because I have so much, I don't really feel that sense of urgency to get anything done, if that makes sense. Like, I'm in no rush. If I'm sold out of something, I have something else that's going to take its place. I just don't need to really get much done. I don't think I'll ever feel that pressure that some of the ladies feel when they're doing the markets. Like, it's the week before and they're like mad crocheting to make sure they have enough inventory. I'm not sure I will ever feel that. Who knows? Who knows? One of these up and coming markets could be the market that puts me in that position, which experiencing it once would be fun, I think. A little pressure, but it would be fun. So when I got into that pattern file, folder, whatever, I was like, what do I want to make? What do I want to make? So I said, you know what? I've only done one giraffe. Well, I've done a couple of giraffes, but I've only done one giraffe that I took to market and sold at market. The other one was a custom order, and I sold it through Etsy. And it wasn't a fast one to make, so. Although, it was very cute. It was really, really cute. And it was another one that was made for, you know, acrylic or cotton yarn. It wasn't made for plushy yarn, so it turned out a really nice size. So I got into my giraffe pattern, and it's a Madeline Mako pattern. So I did another giraffe, and this is the same way I did it the first time, with color-wise, using the mustard and terracotta. That's the Michaels yarn. But this time, they got pretty colored eyes, and I got to use my new eye tool. Stacy, thank you so much. What a pleasure using that tool. Oh my goodness. I had so many comments on it that I was very lucky, and yes, I was very lucky that Stacy was so kind and sent that to me. I also had comments where people didn't think they'd be able to use it, that it would be hard on their hands. It is not. It is like you just squeeze. I was very surprised at how little pressure it took to squeeze. And then at first I didn't hear the, like the click or the pop where, you can hear it snap into place. So I'm like double checking, and I'm pulling on the backs and the fronts and making sure that it was on. And it went on. And that was using the 18 millimeter eyes with the dome back where like there's nothing for the other tools to grip onto to be able to squeeze it in place. But it was so easy to use. So nice. Thank you again, Stacy. But so we did Madeline Mako's giraffe. And they're pretty quick. The only thing you're sewing is the muzzle and the ossicones. I don't know how to pronounce it, but these things, they're not antlers. They have their own special name. I should say, hey, Google, how do you pronounce this? And let it tell me how to pronounce it. Or ask, the other one, the British guy that lives in my phone. But, yep. So one giraffe. I can tell you, I picked this color instead of using regular yellow because when I was working with the Charmander, I don't know, the more I use that sunshine yellow, the less I like it. To me, it kind of looks dirty. I don't know why, it just, I don't know. I like it in the mustard. So we made that. And when I purchased my Madeline Mako patterns, she was running a great sale. When I looked the other day, she was not having a sale. But she was running a really good sale. So then, sticking with Madeline Mako, I had bought a chicken pattern from her. And it's not like, you know, the Mabel chicken. It's not like the little chicks in the eggs that I showed you last time. This one reminds me of the cartoon chicken, Foghorn Leghorn, you know, from Looney Tunes. So we did a chicken. And again, using the Michaels yarn, with the exception of the red, because the red that they have is not bright. It's real dark. So this is a Bernat baby, I think. And it's one of their softer ones. So I used that for the red. And these I got to use 22 millimeter eyes on. And that tool worked just wonderful with them. So we have this chick. I had made one before and it sold. And I just never got around to making another one. Didn't really think about it. And I think I only took it to 2 markets with me, and those were those small markets in Trinity. So, I mean, not a big customer base. So maybe, we'll see. We'll see if it sells again. But you know what? I think I lied to you guys. I said I made the Charmander first, and I didn't. I finished the dumpster fire that I had started last time and didn't have it finished yet. So I did it in toffee because people that I have actually like chatted with about the dumpsters are telling me what color the dumpsters are in their areas. And I'm like, well, down here, they're either green, blue, or a tan, depending on what company. So I did a blue one, and I have kind of a green one. It's not really emerald green. I probably should do one in emerald green. It was Lagoon, I think. So I did one in tan. And of course, this one's my pattern. So, yep. So now I have 3 dumpster fires. The last market I had 2 with me and sold both. I might, maybe, no promises. I might do a couple more. Maybe. After the giraffe and the chicken, I was like, oh, I want to do something easy. And I think I mentioned before that I am in Madeline Mako's Patreon. So she sends out free patterns to her, I think she calls them super supporters. So she's been sending out these little like pocket patterns. And like there's been a cow and a pig and a flamingo and a bee. You know, nothing fancy, just little small things. So I'm like, well, let me try the flamingo. Well, that's this guy. Just reminds me of a slightly bigger version of a mini bird. Nothing spectacular. And I didn't have the colors that called for, so I used the colors that I had. I didn't have 14 millimeter eyes. 16s looked too big, so I used 12s. And if you had every size eye in every style, you'd need a warehouse. And I do not have a warehouse. So we did this little flamingo just to work on something small. And then I was like, nah, I don't want to make a bunch of those. Let me try something else small and easy. So I dug out the beer pattern. And especially after, at the last market, the little kid where he wanted to, whoever his chaperone was, to buy him a beer. That was so funny. You had to be there. The kid had a great sense of humor. So I'm like, well, I'll make one more and I'll take one with me. And I think that was the first time that I had taken it to a market. Pretty sure it was. So I have one more. I'm being stingy with the Michael's yarn because I am getting low on some colors. And there are certain things that I need to use with it. Like, I'm out of the gray for the Totoro. I should order some, but I'm really trying not to order any more yarn till after the first of the year. You can't see this over here, but it's starting to get space in it. But up top, I have quite a bit stacked up there that was ordered in threes and it's in the plastic. But some of the colors are getting really low. So, and I'm trying to hold out because if we were talking profit and loss, we are at a loss this year because I just keep buying yarn and patterns and not really selling enough to break even with that. Mainly because I didn't have a lot of markets. Some of them were canceled. Some of them just weren't that great. But you know what? We got a new year coming and things could change for the better, I hope. So, back on the pattern hunt, looking through my files, trying not to buy another new pattern, and seeing what I have. Well, last year, I had made this deer, and it was so nice. It was such a pretty little deer, but it was more difficult to make, like time-wise. It was really nice, though. I would make them again, but maybe for a custom order. I mean, it really is pretty. It really is. Anyways, so I wanted to make a deer because I'm very limited on Christmas items, and people think reindeer at Christmas. But I didn't really want it to look Christmas. But it could be Christmas if you wanted it to be Christmas type of thing. So Madeleine has a little deer. Now, I think this is the first time I did this pattern. And I think that possibly this might have been one of her first patterns. For a couple of reasons. Everything was sewn on. Nothing was crocheted in, and most of her patterns are like no-sew or like really low-sew. You know, like with the giraffe, it's just the snout and the little things on the top of his head. The chicken, it's just the beak. Her elephants, it's all no-sew. So this one surprised me a little when I actually did it. So knowing how she does her patterns, because I've done enough of them now, I did a few little tweaks. Instead of sewing on the arms, I crocheted them in. I just looked ahead and, okay, this is where I'm going to attach them. You know, like, where does she say to sew them versus in the crochet process, where can I attach them? Same thing with the ears, which left me having to sew on just the face and the antlers. The other thing that I'll say is the arms are really long on this. So if I make another one, and I probably will, just not sure when, I'm going to shorten the arms because they look really, really long. Anyhow, So here is my deer with his very long arms. In comparison, see the length of the giraffe arms versus the deer arms. These just seem really long to me. So I would shorten them. And when I crocheted them in, I did it on the last round before you start your increases for the head. When it came to the ears, I just looked where she said to sew it on and just tried to make them look even and crochet them in. For his little snout, for me, and I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but usually when I do the snout, it ends up being like too big for the face. So I went down. I did the body in 6mm and I went down to a 5mm to make the snout, and it came out a good size for me. Again, I got to use the eye tool, which made it so much easier. And then I added a tail. I'm like, this little guy needs a tail. The pattern did not call for a tail, so I just I started off with 4. Then I did single crochet increase to bring it up to 6. Then I did 3 slip stitch, 3 half doubles, 3 slip stitch, 3 half doubles so that it would get that angle, and then just sewed it onto his booty. So, and again, this is the Michaels. It's terracotta, and that was right on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. Terracotta. I think they call this one espresso. It's a very, very dark brown. It almost looks black for the antlers. And I used black Parfait Chunky to make his nose, and white Parfait Chunky to give him the little spots on his head. So, I am very happy with this, with the exception of the long arms. So if I took off probably 3 rounds, I would get it to a length that I would be happy with on the arms. So we did that. And then we went back to the pattern file. What else can I make? I have a lot of things in there, but it's like, what suits my fancy? What do I want to do? Type of thing. So I went back to the Madeline Mako. I made quite a few of her patterns this week, or in the past few days. And because I sold a few of the elephants at the last market, I decided to do some elephants. And the more girly colors were the colors that sold at the last market. So that left me with, I had 2. I don't remember the exact colors, but they are darker, more masculine looking, so to speak. So I decided, let me do a light purple. And again, I am super limited on my Michaels. I have some that are darker, but they weren't colors that I wanted for this. I wanted the more pastel, girly colors. So we did light purple. I'm not sure of the actual color name, but it is the Michaels, I believe, Sweet Snuggles Light. And I did this one first. Usually everything lines up for me quite well until I get to having to put the ears in. And then I usually have to frog a couple of times and readjust. Even the trunk, I do have to, like it says to do 19 and then add the trunk. I have to do 17 and then add the trunk. and it's been 17 each time. The ears, it's hit and miss. And I know that's with the way we stuff, with our tension, but I have to play with that. And these were no exception. The next one was worse than this one with the frogging, but Toby kind of caused some of that because he wanted to get up and lay in my arms, and wouldn't let me work, and I had to keep putting it down, and then I could pick it up and put it down and pick it up. But, you know, cats are usually so independent when they want the attention like that. Don't discourage it. Give them some loving and let them sit with you or lay on you or hug on you, whatever it is they want to do. Because it doesn't happen very often, and especially the older they get. Kittens are a different story, but when they start to get older, they become very independent. And I like cats that like to sit in your lap and let you pet them. And Toby doesn't like to be petted too much, but he does like around his chin scratch, the back of his head, the top of his butt, right at the base of his tail. But that's about it. Don't stroke, because he will bite. We found that out the hard way. But yeah, so we did the purple elephant, and then we did the pink. And this is the one where Toby decided he wanted to be Mr. Lovable and lay across my arms so that I couldn't work. So we got this one done. I'm thinking maybe these need a tail. I don't know. But I did decide to go ahead and put the hair on top like the pattern calls for. Usually I don't. Now I have done it on the last few. And the ones with the hair are the ones that have sold. But when I've done them at Parfait Chunky and they end up being like this big, I didn't do any hair and those all sold. But they were like really tiny, very small. And these come out to a good size. And these are fairly quick. Most of her patterns are quick. The deer took me a little longer because I was like tweaking it. And just the tweak of the arms, and I think I'll be good on that. Toby, you want to come say hi, buddy? You want to come over here and say hi to everybody? No? You're going to lay over there? It's okay, yeah. You can lay over there. He's looking at me like I'm crazy. Just so you guys know, my Toby bite is feeling much better. Don't look at this hand. I smashed it yesterday and broke a vein. You know, our hands are like our greatest commodity, and I just can't can't keep mine unwounded. But yeah, it's doing much better. It is like a lot less painful. This one here is still a little tender, just a tiny bit. But I've been peroxide and polysporin, just trying to keep it clean, and it is doing much better. This, on the other hand, I smashed that yesterday and broke a vein. It does not hurt. It just looks ugly. But thank you, everyone, for your concern about my cat bite. Toby's bitten me many times. This one, he got me really good because it was like wide-mouthed, and his top fang got into this side, and his bottom jaw slipped from here and then got me there. So he got me good that time. He just did not want to be picked up. He wanted to stay on the porch, and he wasn't about it. But I'm like, it is late at night. You cannot stay out here all night. And he had to come in, and he didn't like it. When he's in those kind of moods, I try to leave him alone. But it was late. I think for sure I want to work on my sweater and get it finished. I have to get Jenna help me do a couple of measurements, and then I'm good to go. I just need to write those measurements down. So I'm almost done with the second sleeve, and of course, because I decided to use such a thin yarn and a small hook, it's takes more rounds to do it, so it's a lot more work. It takes longer, but I'm fine with that. I am fine with that. And then, of course, I had to undo that whole sleeve that I was almost done with because my tension was too tight, and it, you know, I could tell just by the feel, this isn't right. So I had to get out the other one, and I was like, huge size difference because my tension got way too tight. That's what happens when you go from this that needs to be tight to something that doesn't need to be tight. So that's all I have today. And I'm going to stop rambling and let you guys go about your business. And we will see you right here on this same channel in the next video.